Hello everyone! It is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from inside of Bat City Comic Professionals to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to get you excited about a bunch of comics you're definitely going to want to add to your pull list. But before we do that, if we're going to wind down our weekend, as always, we need a wine to do so. And this week our wine comes from our friends Gabby and Dan, who have brought us this amazing present. I'm very excited to give it a try. This is Arabella, which is a South African shiraz, and it is from the Western Cape. I looked it up because there's like no description on what it is on the back. So I looked it up and it is supposed to be a very strong, like fruit forward taste, which kind of gives it almost a sweet feel. But it does have like some pepper and some vanilla as like a back end kick that kind of like comes out the more you drink it. And so it might be a little sweet on our first go, but we've been kind of letting it aerate, so maybe some of that like pepper and vanilla will kind of expand into the flavors. But if we're going to drink it, we need a glass. And last week, we showed you some cool new glasses we got. Well, guess what? We got even more cool new glasses. These are actually from our friends Jason Wall and Sammy Maskwall, who are incredible educators in our community. And Sammy made these for us, and they are so fantastic. Can you see them okay? Yes. Okay, cool. And it was cool because Sammy made them in 4 different colors. So there's like a whole set of all different ones. I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Sammy and Jason, for the surprise New Year's present and something to add to the show, which just gives more excitement. And they're ginormous glasses. They're great for Tempranillo, and it really helps like expand that, which of course is my favorite kind of wine. So thank you for like the double gift in that experience. But we are going to taste this wine that we got today, this Arabella, and see how it is. Right, you can smell that fruit. I love these glasses because they give you a lot of room for the.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, wow. That is, like, you do have a lot of different flavors in there. Holy cow. I feel like this glass does open it up a lot. I was, like, preparing myself for something way more sweet than that, based off of even the description of, like, oh, the fruit is really sweet at the front. There's not really any sweetness. It's more of almost the jam of the flavors. And they did say it's, like, plum and darker fruits, and I think you definitely can taste that it's more of that. But yeah, it is more of a jam than a sweet fruit. I mean, honestly, like that Malbec last week was sweeter than this is.
I can taste some sweetness on it. Like it has a sweet initial kick, like right at the front, and then mellows out to a red wine.
Yeah. It's not. I really thought it was gonna be way more sweet than that, but no, it tempers nicely.
Go really good with strong meat and cheese.
We always have to decide how well it'll go with charcuterie. But no, it would actually. I feel like, especially like the stronger cheese, like we have that cheese that we just tried last week, that like cranberry one. I feel like this would go really well with the cranberry goat cheese kind of experience. Because it'll blend to those flavors really nicely. We're going to be drinking that while we talk about comics out this week. But before we get there, new announcements. Thank you to everybody who came out this week for all of the things. We had creator hours on Wednesday, which was really cool to get to see creators come together and kind of brainstorm where they were in their projects and just kind of help each other out. We saw some really great connections happening in there and just coming up with some really good ideas. I love seeing people walk away like, oh, I finally am unstuck, and it's great. And then we had book club on Thursday, which was our book club for adults, which was our Fresh Start book club, and we read Department of Truth #1, and that was such a fun conversation about conspiracy theories and about James Tynion's like writing as he moved into that indie world, like, you know, Department of Truth being like his post Something is Killing the Children, like non-fantasy, non-horror, like real world kind of storytelling. It was kind of an interesting conversation, especially seeing where everybody came to Tynyon from. And we celebrated our friend, our book club and customer and awesome, just always here all the time, Ash, her birthday during book club. So happy birthday, Ash. Thanks for letting us celebrate you during that. And then we had Story Spelunkers yesterday, which was a ton of fun. We read Godzilla Monster Protectors, and we got to come up with ways to stomp our own goals this year and really just get some cool kaiju action going towards accomplishing the things we want to do. And we learned a lot of really big words. We talk about all the time the statistic that comics help teach 53.5 like rare words per 1,000, which is such a good measure. Honestly and truthfully, Story Spelunkers, we really get to see that a lot because we do get to see what words like we learn throughout. We put them on the board so everybody has a memory of what words we're learning. And there was just so many really big words in that Godzilla comic this week that the kids got to learn. So continue to do that, publishers. Continue to put words in there that challenge kids to look them up and learn, because it's such a great way for them to continue to expand their vocabulary, and a great way for us to talk about it with them. The other thing is, of course, we had craft afternoon today, and we got to see some people make some really cool art. Always a fun time. That's every Sunday, as long as we're open. You can pop in and check out the art room or the arts and crafts on the table in the classroom. This week coming up, this Thursday night at 8 p.m. is Ladies and Non-Binary Nerd Night. It's always a fun time. It's free. It's after the store closes, but you get to kind of just hang out and take over the store. So come join us. And then, of course, this Saturday at 11:30 and 3:30 are comic creation workshops, which are also free, fun for people. Kids come in, learn how to tell stories and put them together into comic format with either me or Mr. Santiago. Parents, you're welcome to join, but you do have to participate. So keep that in mind if you decide you want to pop in for comic creation workshops this weekend. And other than that, there's always fun and exciting things happening. You can always remember to check out our social media to see what's next on the calendar if you want to keep up with what's coming. And if you missed the big announcement, I guess I can say it now on the live stream. There's some big announcements. If you missed the biggest one of all, we will be heading out to sea with San Diego Comic-Con The Cruise, February 5th through the 9th. It is going to be a wild, exciting adventure, and we're very excited to be invited by San Diego Comic-Con The Cruise. It's awesome. We're going to be setting sail as the comic vendor for the cruise, and we cannot wait to hang out with all of our new friends that we're going to meet while we're on that. And if you don't have tickets, they're still available, so you can get on to the inaugural year of the cruise. I have a feeling it is going to be a special occasion, being that it is the very first one. And it leaves out of Tampa and goes to Cozumel and comes right back. So all of you Floridians who follow Bat City that are watching, this is a great chance to have a go to Comic-Con on a boat. It's going to be wild.
What are the dates?
February 5th through the 9th, yes. And then join us tomorrow night for the live here on the internet, right back here at 7 p.m. We are going to have the Batastic Awards, which is our annual award show honoring all of the small press and indie comic creators, comics, and characters that we love throughout the year. And we are going to have special guest cartoonist Anthony Pizzo joining us to talk about it. And if you're in the comments on the Facebook ever, you've probably seen Anthony. If you've been here in the store, you've probably seen Anthony drawing and helping kiddos out with their art as well, and probably have like a free awesome picture that Anthony has drawn for you. So we're very excited to have Anthony join us and talk about all of the best books of 2024 and see what it is that's going to win an award. I'm terrible at picking. Anthony, we're going to have to pick our winners tomorrow before we go live. And just know, once we narrow down our nominees, which I'm sending you soon, I'm going to be really terrible at picking a winner. So good luck with that. All right, we are going to be doing that tomorrow at 7, so tune in to see that. And of course, just like everything else, that will live in perpetuity on our YouTube, so you can see it forever after that. We're going to talk about some comics, though, right now. I'm going to take this sweater off because it is not cold in here anymore. We in Florida like to pretend that it's really, really cold right now when it's in the 40s and 50s, because it is for us. But we're going to kick it off comic-wise with one of the just best ongoing kids. This is one of the longest running kids series, honestly, that I've seen in forever, with Kaya, and this is issue 24 from Image Comics. This is truly all ages. Like, anybody can enjoy this. We have subscribers, down to like 6 and 7 all the way up to 60. So there's tons of fun for everybody in here. But if you don't know Kaya, this is the story of a young girl who once thought that she was meant to be the chosen one, only to find out that it was actually her little brother. So she dedicated her life to keeping him safe. Well, when their entire village is destroyed, she feels like she has to find a new way to get him to safety and to the gods that can teach him how to use the magic of being the chosen one, or the golden one as they call him. They have had a long and arduous journey on the last 24 issues, and in this arc, they have teamed up with a trickster god who Kaya is constantly reminded not to trust, but has no other option. And in the last issue, once again, her younger brother Jin was kidnapped. But for the first time, he feels like Kaya is responsible. And instead of trying to feel like he needs to get back to Kaya, he's kind of leaning heavily on, this trickster god kind of being the one who saved him, which is dangerous and worrisome for Kaya, because if he is starting to fall into favor with this god, there is only a matter of time before he is easily swayed to whatever darkness is coming his way. Absolutely fun, bright colors, great adventure story, and just a wonderful story of siblings kind of making their way through this world. If you haven't checked it out, Wes Craig's really building something amazing here that continues to be award-winning and nominated. So grab Kaya. There is, I believe, 3 or 4 volumes of this already out in trade paperback. If you want to catch up, you don't have to go single issues to do so. What's the furthest place from here? Issue 21, also from Image Comics. And this is Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg working together to bring us kind of a very much like Warriors style world that just keeps getting a little bit bigger. And this is going to be cool. I'm going to have to show you some of these pages in different directions this time. A lot actually on this live stream. I feel like we had this happen a lot this week. But we have a world where as far as we know at the very beginning, adults cannot survive, and when you get to a certain point, like you get the sickness, which is aging up, and you must leave or be killed. And we have since learned that that is not exactly entirely true, that there is this group called the Strangers who have been overseeing everything and kind of manipulating the world. And in the last issue, our group that we've been following this whole time has found themselves on the other side of the mountain, kind of trying to find that furthest place from where they started in order to find a new home, a safe space for themselves in the next generation, only to find out that it is just honestly and truthfully a darker version of the place that they came from. And there might not really be a safe place anywhere left in this world, but they're really determined to figure that out and find it. And no matter what, they learn that people are just terrible no matter where you go. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. But somehow this story just keeps adding layers upon layers. And, I feel like because the world doesn't end, they could keep going forever. And who knows what they'll find. All right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures, issue 20 from IDW. Look at that. See, here's another long-running kids comic series. This is happening these days. Anybody who thinks kids don't buy comics, guess what? We've got some long-running kid series to prove you otherwise. So we've got this fantastic experience for kids and parents to share together, because this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon turned into comic format all over again. And in this issue, as always, it's very episodic, and Michelangelo playing around in the house ends up breaking a bunch of Donatello's stuff, and everybody kind of takes Donatello's side, because why are you playing around, Mikey? And Mikey gets really offended by everybody not being on his side and takes off into the sewers and ends up finding a genie. And this genie can only give you one wish, but it's not one you make. It's one that it tells you you need. And what he does is It's a Wonderful Life Michelangelo, who doesn't think that his brothers care about him because he got in trouble. And he kind of shows him what the world would be like without him. And honestly, without Mikey, the team kind of seems to be without a little bit of its heart, or all of its heart, because it seems like, there wasn't anybody to make people laugh and to remind them that the most important thing is their family. And so they all kind of become just really angry turtles who work for a very angry Splinter, who will not go by the name Splinter because apparently Michelangelo made that up. And so they he doesn't go by that. He goes by his original human name, and they are working with a lot of darkness and anger, showing, of course, as with It's a Wonderful Life, that everybody has an impact on this world. No matter how big or small we think it may be, it always impacts and ripples through the lives of everybody around us, and Michelangelo has to learn that for himself. Snot Girl, issue 17 from Image Comics, returning to the world of Snot Girl for the first time in what, like 5 years? I feel like it's been so long. There are volumes, if you did not read volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Snot Girl, so that you can catch up. But if you've ever wondered what it was like to live the life of an influencer, Snot Girl is definitely a great way to see just how different life is on the outside of the camera versus it is on the inside, as we follow our lead character, who is in fact an influencer. And very much, if you know Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of this style, he's our Scott Pilgrim creator. He kind of gives you that real life look at the way people interact with each other. And after some extremely outrageous things that happened in volumes 1 through 3 of Snot Girl, we have kind of come to the point where she finally got to be with the girl that she wanted to be with. And she is dealing with the fact that now she has her biggest challenge, which is explaining all of that to her mom. And so she has recently run into her mom with her girlfriend and has to explain what her relationship is, and have that dinner, that dreaded mom meets the partner dinner, and kind of go through all of that to figure out how to have that, you know, relationship grow. And her sister is back, and there's just so much going on. Meanwhile, there's all of the other things that would unfold after the previous volumes of Snot Girl starting to kind of take into effect and trickle into this volume. So we're going to see some of those big moments coming in the next couple of issues. But if you've been waiting for it to return, it is back, and you know, just as exciting as it was before. Transformers, issue 16 from Image, Skybound, and Your Inner John universe, mixing Transformers and G.I. Joe. The thing about the Transformers series, if you don't want to jump into G.I. Joe, as of right now, you don't have to. You can just keep reading Transformers separate from that and get the full story. In fact, we're not even really on Earth in this issue. Most of it takes place on Cybertron, as we see some of the characters have gone back there by accident and some by choice, and they are realizing that the war is still going on there. The Decepticons are still ruling it. Inner John is running out on the planet, as we know, which is why so many of the Transformers have been have disembarked trying to find some more. And we're seeing what it looks like when, you know, this war-torn environment can't recover, and yet it's still just getting ravaged. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we are seeing the same thing, as there's an upheaval in who is going to be running the Decepticons. They've been, you know, going back and forth between leaders with, you know, thinking that Megatron is gone and that somebody else gets to lead, and the war between themselves is almost just as bad as the war between them and the Autobots. But guess what? We're going to see how that plays out for long, because things are about to change in a big way for those Decepticons, and they are going to have to choose some sides really soon, because it's going to get messy in the next issue. I guarantee it. We've got Geiger, issue 10 from Image Comics and Ghost Machine. And if you are somebody who likes to speculate on comics, this is one you need to rush out to your local comic shop and get, because this is not only the catalyst to building some more of the Geiger or the unnamed universe world, but it is also the first appearance of a new character into that universe. So you're going to want to grab that. If you don't know the story of Geiger, Geiger is basically about a man who lost everything when he became radioactive at the end of the world, and was unfortunately the cause of the death of his own family. He is trying to figure out how to get this radioactive curse away from himself, and he has been trying to make his way through this radioactive world, or this post-apocalyptic world, I guess I should say, on his own, alone, but recently he has been joined by a knight who is willing to help him get through the world. And in this issue, we actually do get to see a little bit of him before the world turned, which is always great because you do just see how good of a person he truly was. And I don't want to show you that reveal. I'm trying to not show you any of the big reveals that happen in this issue. But we do get to see like him working. Here's a good one. With him and his family back before he was, just a volunteer building with Habitat for Humanity and all the good things he tried to do. Just to remind us that Geiger is a really good person, and maybe hopefully remind him that too, because he seems to keep forgetting as he gets more and more violent as this curse kind of grows on him. We are on a thread to see Geiger, Redcoat, Junkyard Joe, and a couple other things really connect very soon. We're starting to see those pieces come together, and we see that in a really big way in this issue, so you're not going to want to miss it. It's really, really connecting really well, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. Tales of the Bazaar, issue 10 from Dren Productions. Tales of the Bazaar started out as Dren Productions kind of anthology-esque story where we had a woman who oversaw telling us different, almost EC horror-esque kind of stories. But since then, it's kind of just become single stories for the most part in each issue that are just giving us some more cool little one-shot stories about characters or experiences that would still kind of fit into that world. And in this story, we see that we see a woman who, during a storm, gets washed into the ocean, and she goes down to the bottom of the sea and is told by another woman who's down there that basically the earth has always had a protector in Mother Nature, and Mother Nature has someone who fights for her that she calls the Oracle. And that person gets changed out every few couple hundred years or so, and they have chosen this girl, and she's basically you have the option: you can either drown at sea or you can become the Oracle. And she does make the choice to be the Oracle, and then it's but she doesn't realize it. And so she starts working as this superhero almost unbeknownst to herself until some big villains start to show up, and we kind of see where that's going to lead her. I kind of hope that we do get more issues of the Oracle. I love the idea of Mother Nature's own superhero who fights against evil corporations trying to destroy nature, and I really would love to see Dren Productions take this and turn it into a whole story of this character, because she's got my vote. I would be team Oracle for sure. Napalm Lullaby, issue 8 from Image and the Giant Generator, which is Rick Remender's publisher, and which is why I'm going to take a second right now to do a shout out to Rick Remender and to all of the creators, store owners, and friends in California. Please stay safe. I know Rick Remender posted that the fires were really close to his house. I haven't seen if he's had any updates since then, but we just want to send all of our love and support to them, and we just hope that they get all of the fires under control. There's been so many of our creator friends and store friends who have already lost so much and who are in danger spaces. So we just want to send all of our love and care to them, and celebrate you with these books while we talk about you, and know that we're with you in spirit. And so we're going to talk about Rick Remender with Napalm Lullaby, and this is such a good book. Rick Remender is just on fire right now, honestly. That's a terrible choice of words because his house is in California. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Rick Remender is really, his books are just absolutely crushing it. And this is one of them that blew me away, honestly, because I didn't expect where it was going at the very beginning. This is about two siblings who both have superpowers in this world where, a god has been created out of just people's faith in the wrong person. They kind of just glorify him, and eventually he does become this celestial being and starts bringing out these powers in other people, but it becomes very oligarchian, and you have to believe in him. And over the course of volume 1, him and his friends, or him and this kid and his sister, and some people they're connected to, end up taking that god down, at least outwardly. Take away the structure, and it's if we can take away people's ability to believe in him, maybe we can stop him. But it doesn't actually go the way we wanted, and in this volume, we've kind of seen him Sam living in this world that we just keep thinking, like, what happened? It seems like the world never really was. Like, is this a dream? Was that a dream? Well, we're starting to see that this is actually a dream world that he's been living in, and he's the only one that can break it out. And if you know the powers of the siblings, his sister does have that dream world power. So has she always been the bad guy? Is she currently just like building this world to keep people from seeing the bad guy? There's so much that goes into this. I have no idea which direction Reminder is going to take it in, but I have a feeling it's going to say a lot. It's going to be beautiful what happens, and it's going to be a fantastic story. Please pick up Napalm Lullaby. It's so good. And take your time reading it, because there's so many levels to it. We've got Quested, Season 2, Issue 6 from Massive Publishing. If you are a fan of I Hate Fairyland and you haven't read Quested yet, you absolutely should be reading it, because it's so similar in character tone and art and color. But in Quested, we have been following a guy named Jinx, who in Volume 1 was all about his own quest, in which he kind of manipulated the people of this fairy tale kingdom to get all the things that he wanted and to kind of steal their treasures and things like that. Well, in Volume 2, he's gone on this quest, which is supposed to take him to the Underbrawn, which is their underworld, where he has to potentially release his own father or keep him trapped further in this mirror world that lies beneath, so that they make sure he cannot do any more damage to the world. He also meets his mom for the first time, and learns their whole backstory and how he became the way he is, and the way that his dad got into the power of evil that he did. He must figure out what choice he's going to make, and he must do it soon, because in this issue, there's some major manipulation that leads Jinx into some problems, and they're all at the back of the book, so I'm not going to show them to you because it'll spoil it. Moon Man, Issue 6 from Image Comics and Your Black Market Narrative, which is Kyle Higgins, which contains like your Massive Verse, your Radiant Black, and all of those groups. I assume at some point this will cross over into that. But this is the story of a guy who was chosen to go into space, and while he's out in space, he has a really fantastic experience that he cannot describe. And I say fantastic on purpose because it's very much like Fantastic Four, where suddenly he finds himself having these mysterious powers, and he doesn't know where they came from, other than the mysterious time when everything disappeared in space, and nobody can document it. Well, for the first time, actually, we get to see what happened in space. We're 6 issues in, and they haven't really, we didn't really know either. It's always just been like, oh, it's been a mystery. But we start to get to see those moments of something hitting the shuttle, like this weird light beam kind of situation, and he is just kind of like, what is going on? What is happening? Like, we need to get out of here. We need to get to the space station. And the guy that is funding the mission is like, absolutely not. We're going to stay here. And while they're on there, they also start to see, like, his time, everything in his life starts switching. And we saw these memories at the very beginning that kind of shaped who he was and why he went on there. And then as this like glitch is happening, we see all of those things kind of happening at the same time for him. And he's not really sure what's up and what's down, like literally. And I love that double page spread to show that. And everything just kind of turns sideways and gets all mixed up. And we get to see, like, this is the start of this power forming for this guy, and brings us back into the world that we're in and whatever he's going to become. And we already know, because of course issue 1 starts with him having these powers, so we kind of already know that. But now is he going to have those memories of what actually happened? Is this going to lead to something better? We're going to find out in issue 7 for sure. Kill All Immortals, issue 5 from Dark Horse. Is this the end? Is this the beginning of this? I don't really know. This could go lots of ways. I think we're going to get a second volume, or at least more issues of this, because this has been the story of Freya, who is an immortal woman whose family has been around since the Viking days. They are not gods. They are just immortal, and they have found their way into immortality by a certain, process, which we learn about in this issue. Well, she has been fighting against her family because she brought a reporter home who wasn't supposed to be investigating how they got their immortality, but of course you can never trust anybody in this world. And after sticking up against all of her family for the first 3.5 issues, she realizes that the guy was actually shady and takes him out herself. But is still finding herself at war with her family because she doesn't want to be immortal anymore, and she doesn't want all of the headaches and problems that come with it. And so she is trying to take down all of them all over again, and comes to terms with, and each of them, I guess, have to come to terms with whether or not they want to be immortal and what they want that to look like. Well, we do get some reveals that while this family seems to think themselves the highest of immortals and the only ones that cannot be touched, they might not, in fact, be that. And so she, the solution to her, I don't want to be immortal anymore, may actually lead to some very dangerous problems for this family in the future. And we're going to see, hopefully, another whole volume of that because it's been so great so far. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation issue 3 from IDW. This is kind of a dual book. One side is Raphael, the other side is Casey Jones, which Turtles are known to do. And they're kind of giving us 2 stories that fit into the before of where we are in the main Turtles run. In Raphael's story, we see him and Metalhead having to team up because he's actually just kind of chasing Metalhead to get his pepperoni back, and he ends up in a place where there's a lab and somebody is doing research on a bunch of people, including Mondo Gecko, and Raphael is trying to save them all from this terrible place with the help of Metalhead, and they are doing their best. It is not going well. We're going to see how that plays out for Raph as the story goes. And then in the second story, Casey Jones has been working with the Foot Clan, which is now being run by Karai, and she's kind of losing it. She seems to be, the whole thing was that she wasn't going to go evil, and she kind of brought Casey Jones on her side to make sure she didn't turn fully evil. Well, she's being possessed by some kind of evil spirit, and it is pushing her further and further into darkness, and in this issue, Casey kind of calls her on that, and they start to kind of have a fight to see where this is going to go and what's going to happen. I'm most excited about the ad on the back because we are going to get a Godzilla vs. America book, which I'm going to read it really fast and then I'll expose it. And the first issue is Godzilla vs. Chicago. And I'm very excited because the creators on it are Tim Seeley, Mike Costa, Ryan Brown, Carolyn Cash, and Ezra Clayton Daniels. I cannot wait to see Carolyn Cash take on Chicago with Godzilla. I'm just going to say it. This is going to be great. I'm so stoked for this series. It's going to be fantastic. It's coming soon. You're going to want to get it. It's going to be great. I know we're going to be obsessed with it in here for a while. Matt's already over there, really excited. Carolyn Cash, Chicago, Godzilla. What else do you need? Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac, issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is volume 2 of Where Monsters Lie. Yes, you do need to read volume 1 in order to understand what's happening in volume 2, but we are 3 issues into that now. And fantastic story as usual. So if you don't know Where Monsters Lie, it is all about the subdivision that serial killers and famous, horror movie villains live when they're not doing serial killer things. They all need a safe space to go back to, and the rules are you can't kill each other, and they've got an HOA, and it's run by a little old lady, and she's very strict. Well, in volume 1, their whole community gets torn apart by a police officer and his team while they go after somebody who chose to kill in the subdivision, which you're not allowed to do as the rules state. So now they're in a new space, and this cop is actually with them, and he seems to have some more knowledge of everything that's going on than they thought, because they thought that he would be coming into this because of his ties to certain other people in the group, and that they would keep him there, but he is not following the rules and maybe secretly up to good, but in their world that's no good. But the whole time we're also getting to see the interworkings of the serial killer people, and the little old lady who runs the HOA is also up to a bunch of stuff that is going shady behind everybody's backs, and we're going to see how this plays out. It's going to be this ultimate war between these serial killers and this officer very soon. We've got the Carlisle School for Kings issue 3, also from Dark Horse, and I really just love this book. It is so good. It's fantastic, really. It's just a classic young adult story. We've got a girl who is from a noble family, and her family kind of speaks out against the king, who is wrong and is doing bad things, and the king has them killed, and her brandished a traitor. But she's still technically a noble family member, so when they have the annual tournament, or not annual, but like the community tournament to determine who the next king will be, she gets to go and enter into it, and she's like, I'm not going because I want to win to be king, because I don't want to be king. I'm going because I want to kill the king for the damage that he did to my family. And so she enters into this competition just to get close enough to take down the king. But the problem is she's actually really good at it, and she has to be if she wants to stay there long enough to figure out how she's going to take out the king. But she's starting to build connections with people who really care about her. And also we're starting to see that not all of the king's children believe in the king's glory and the things that he's up to either. And so I have a feeling we're going to see a really deep connection grow with one of the king's sons, and I cannot wait to see how that goes. Also, I really just want her to be king. We've got so many opportunities. I'm really excited. It's so good. I can't wait to see how it ends, but also please don't end it anytime soon because I love it so much. Living Hell, issue 2, also from Dark Horse. What a great Dark Horse week. Oh my gosh. There's so many Dark Horse books. Living Hell, this was a pick of the week also, as was Carlisle Kings, School for Kings when they first came out, and they're both still fantastic and deserving of that. Living Hell is about a guy who is actually an ancient god who has chosen to step down from that, basically as a religion stops being viewed as the main religion in a world. They kind of become relabeled as demons by the new religions and get, kind of pushed out. And so he is trying to go into hiding. He becomes a bartender. He starts a family. He has a child who he loves. And he's trying to kind of just keep it all together. Well, he gets picked to be the next shepherd, which is the person whose job it is to go after all of the demon people and round them back up and send them back into their afterlife or underworld or wherever it is that they're supposed to be sent to. And nobody wants that. It's terrible. It's awful. And so that's why so many of them are in hiding. He's been very against the concept of shepherding this whole time, but it's unfortunate for him because in a very Santa Claus-esque kind of moment, a shepherd dies in front of him and now he has to become one. So he's doing that, and unfortunately, really unfortunately for him, after he does his first mission at the beginning of this book, the next one that comes up is actually for the very person who has been hiding him his whole life and helping him out. And so he's really torn between doing the job that he has to do in order to keep his own family safe or saving his friends. And all he really wants is to have a life with his daughter and be that kind of single dad who can be there for his kid. And it's heartwarming and sad and beautiful and filled with great storytelling all the way through. Assassin's Apprentice, Volume 3, Issue 2, also from Dark Horse. And also I love this story too. This is about a boy who is the illegitimate child of the prince. And the prince wants absolutely nothing to do with him, sends him to live as a stable boy. And then he is also chosen to be trained as an assassin for the king as time goes on. He has been doing that over the last few volumes, but he was also given the gift that only the royal family seems to have, which is the ability to communicate via his mind. And for him, that kind of manifests more with animals than it does with people. And he recently went through a training process to see if he could become part of the group of elite people who can hear and speak to people through their minds and kind of control people's minds. And he thought that he failed out of it because he technically did, but he learns in this issue what actually truly happened and the control that's been placed on him by people who would like to keep him away from the throne and away from the royal family. But he does actually get his spot back in the royal family in this issue. And I'm going to spoil it because I can. he learns his name, and he's never actually been given his name before. He's always been like kind of just called Boy or like Ward or whatever, because they didn't want to give him that power. And somebody gives him his name in this issue, and I like cheered. I was so happy for him. Oh my gosh, I love it. Cannot wait to see where this goes. This has so much story to it. This, honestly, every time I read it, I feel like I just read like a new volume of a novel, because there's so much in every issue. Heavy from like what's happening, but also like the storytelling. It's just very novelesque, but with pictures, and I love it. Like if they would put it out as a graphic novel from the beginning, like I would have loved to read the whole thing at one time. But I love that we're getting it in pieces, because I love episodic nature. It's just like one of my favorite shows. All right, we've got Barstow issue 2, also from Dark Horse. I told you it's a huge Dark Horse week. This is a wild and crazy story. Honestly, it's very like fear and loathing kind of experiences. But this is about a woman who is a detective who is sent out to investigate a murder in a town called Barstow. And what she learns is that the town is very much more than meets the eye, and for very different reasons. And so each issue we've kind of seen a little bit more of that. In the first part of this one, we see a guy and his friend who go out to eat at a diner, and he goes outside for a second, and all kinds of weird stuff happens, and nobody notices. We have another guy who kind of finds himself like tumbling out of this, which is the scene, tumbling out of this almost like morgue-esque type place, and learning that all kinds of weird stuff is going on. We have a woman who is a dance instructor, but is also like putting demons out to like putting demons after people, like, and so trying to put them in people's bodies. And so it is such a crazy wild ride. And then you've got like your detective who's trying to figure everything out, and it's just like, why is this place so weird? What is going on? And it's just a wild, trippy ride, and we may never figure out actually what's going on. Who knows? This may just be one of those books that nothing gets solved, but you just have weird experiences that it's just strange. And it's in all the best ways. Christmas 365 issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is, I thought this was going to be a one shot originally when it came out, and then at the end of issue 1 you're like, oh no, this is a series. And this is a ride that I didn't know I was going to love taking, and I can't wait to see how it goes. But this is all about a dad who, during Christmas time, realizes that he's completely lost touch with his family. He's kind of become the overworked dad that doesn't put any effort into his family. And so he decides, he remembers the joy of Christmas and how much it like used to bring everybody together. So what if like they treated every holiday like Christmas? And what if they treat every day like Christmas? And so they end up kind of overdoing all of the holidays. It's like everything becomes Christmas. And so it's like Christmas, Valentine's Day, Christmas, New Year, Christmas, like 4th of July. And then they actually end up like opening up like a YouTube, or starting a YouTube channel, which gets a lot of views and crazy things happen. And then they decide to put a theme park essentially in their backyard to keep making money off of it. And it just really does actually bring the family together in this like weird way. He's always getting hurt, and they're always laughing at how many views they get. And him and his teenage daughter, because she's running the YouTube and the social media, have like become really close. And then of course you get like your character who is terrible, who's the neighbor that wants to like steal it all from them and like kind of take their plans and hijack them and use them for his own good. And honestly, like, he just reminds me, we were just talking about Phil Hartman and Jingle All the Way yesterday, and I read all of his lines in his voice because he just kind of reminds me of him every time. But we're going to see how this works out for this family, because there's some dark days on the way, and this is, we're going to see if they can keep their Christmas cheer all year long. Welcome to the Maynard, issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is fantastic. If you are fans of the Great British Bump Off, you need to read this because it's so similar in aesthetic and feel, and it's just absolutely fun. But this is about a girl who is got a new job at a hotel, and it's a hotel for magical people. They are not magical. They're half magical, half not, or at least that's what they've been told. And their name's Pip. And Pip is not only working as a bellhop, but is also working as an assistant to the detective of the area, and is working to help solve crimes because there's been a lot of robberies at this magical hotel and nobody can figure out what it is. And so Pip is working with the big detective on site, who we learn in this issue has been a part of their family forever. They've kind of been like the adopted dad for them. And Pip is doing their best to really kind of capture some kind of evidence, but isn't finding it yet. At the same time, just kind of helping with the hotel guests. And this right here, this is like the up moment of this book, because this is the story, like, in right here in these four panels, I think it is the story of a man and his wife, and every time that they ever came to the hotel. And it shows like them young all the way to where he's sitting there by himself. And if I freaking cried. It was so good. And then it shows you all of that because later when Pip is really close to catching some clues on the thief, we actually hear a cry for help, only to find out that our old man is trying to do a spell that will hopefully reconnect him with his wife. But if he does that spell, it could end up costing him their eternity together. And so Pip has to try to save him from that. Absolutely great story. So many layers to it. So many characters that coming in and out. You just get to know so many people. And it is so good. I love it so much. All right, The Serpent in the Garden. This is Ed Gray in The Last Battle for England. It's issue 2 from Dark Horse and the world of Hellboy. These Hellboy miniseries are really great because even if you don't know too much about Hellboy, you can find yourself interested in the story, but then also interested in learning a little bit about the Hellboy world to kind of bring you into it. This follows a guy who kind of pledged himself to Morgan Le Fay, hoping that she would give him the ultimate power to bring himself back to being like this almighty person who could kind of rule over things, but instead did not work out the way that he wanted it, and it made him into a powerful person, but not a person, so to say. And now he has become Morgan's champion. Meanwhile, we have Alice, who is our queen, who has chosen her own champion, and the two must meet in a battle to figure out who is going to control all of England. And we kind of see that battle begin in this issue and kind of lead us towards what may happen. And it's kind of very reminiscent of like the Black and the Green Knight battle in Arthurian, that's the word I was looking for, Arthurian storytelling. And they do reference King Arthur a lot in this, and so you kind of get a little bit of that blended into the Hellboy world, which is really cool. Archaic issue 2 from Ahoy Comics. This is such a fun story. This is from a novelist who's making their first ever comic series, and so it's really cool to see how that's kind of translating for them. And we see in issue 1, we kind of saw that there was a woman who was on the run with her 3 kids and like her stepson and her two other kids. And they've been trying to stay hidden after the death of her husband. And somebody comes up and is like, your father has passed away. You must come with us to his estate. And she's like, I don't even know how you found me. And it's like, don't worry about it. You need to get on this boat. You have to come with us on this trip. It's kind of required. And so they end up going on this trip, and when they get there, you find out that this island that she has to take over control of as the guardian is completely and totally magical. And maybe her whole life she was kind of connected to this magic and didn't even realize it. It's everybody in her bloodline, and so she's also working extra careful to make sure that her stepson is treated as a part of it, which I love because I love stories that show that step parents actually can take their child in, like their stepchild in. They're not all Cinderella stories. Like some step parents actually just really love all of the kids equally, and it's great to see that here. And we start to see like there's like people from the underworld and like sphinx and griffins and like sea monsters and some mysterious person who oversees all of the island's magic. And they're all intertwined in this and they can't get out of it. And she's like, I just want to keep my kids safe. Like, are my kids going to be safe here? Because if they are, maybe we'll stay. But like, we really need to get off this crazy island because a giant sea monster just ate our boat. There's a lot going on. It's really good. I can't wait to see where it goes. I really like the relationship dynamics and the different kids and everybody already. So let's keep going. Let's see what happens. Juvenile issue 2 from Image Comics. Man, everything almost that's happened, like that I've just picked up out of like the 2s and 3s was all picks of the week when they came out the first time. So as you can imagine, this was a very hard week for me. But if you haven't read Juvenile, it's off to a fantastic start. It is about kids that are in a world where they've been told that when you get to like your teenage years that there is a virus that's kind of taking kids out and nobody is making it through. And so because of that, they put them in these homes and they give them prescription drugs that are supposed to like keep the illness at bay. Well, it turns out a new boy comes to the center and he's like, hey, I don't take my medicine. And it turns out I don't feel any of the sickness that they tell everybody you feel, and I don't have any of the problems, but I do seem to have superpowers. And I don't know if that's connected. Like maybe they're stifling out all of our superpowers. Maybe they're afraid of us instead of us being afraid of what's coming. Maybe we should just be taking out all of these adults who are coming after these kids. And he's slowly kind of convincing one of the girls to try, our main character, to try the same of not taking her medicine and see what's happening. And she's like, what if I die? What if you're wrong? And he's like, well, you're going to die either way, according to them. So, either die at their mercy or make them die at yours. And we're going to see how this plays out, but I'm really liking where this is building up to so far. So we're only on issue 2, so you can jump in now. All right, we got some books starting this week. First up, When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee, issue 1 from Boom Studios. This is a new look at exorcisms. We're getting a lot of exorcism books right now, and I'm really into that and seeing where it's going. And this is following one man who is a priest who is known for being like the best at exorcisms, but not within the Vatican, which is a thing that they bring up, that like only people who have been trained by the Vatican can perform exorcisms. And this guy is like, well, I'm actually the best at it. And they're like, that's why they're sending you to me to train with me to be my like next in command if something ever happens. And the guy's like, but you don't do it the way the Vatican does. Why doesn't the Vatican do it that way? And he's like, sometimes some things have to go beyond the rules. And so we see him in the way he kind of does his thing over the course of the first part of the book. We kind of see him performing an sanctioned exorcism in his own way. And then we see these two really kind of barely scratch the surface of connecting, but we do learn that he used to have a different apprentice who he says quit, and we learn what that means at one point in the book. But we also learn that his notebook was left behind, and the new apprentice is trying to see what that may entail, and maybe there's some notes in it. And the way we start to see some of that come to fruition is definitely leading us towards a creepy story with this. I cannot wait to see where this one goes, because like I said, exorcism books are really just pulling us up right now with some great stories, and they're gonna be wild. We've got Alien Armageddon 1944 from Dren Productions, issue 1. So we've got, with this story, we've got World War II going on. We're in the middle of the Battle of Normandy, and suddenly, when it looks like it's going our way, a giant spaceship comes, and they're like, whose side is that thing on? What is that? And then it just starts blasting like all of the people, and everybody's like, what is happening? Like, we've got to figure this out. And so we kind of see the soldiers kind of scrambling to survive, for one, but also to figure out like what this alien ship is doing and how to take it out and whether or not they can stop it. And so it's just opening up, so we kind of just really see that battle in there. We don't really get to see too much more. We get to learn a little bit about the characters, but mostly we're really just seeing like them try to get to the guns and the tanks and stuff, and so hopefully like maybe they'll be able to figure out how to stop it. But it goes pretty quickly, and this is going to be a big alien invasion on its way. And it's one of those where it's like, ooh, maybe we're going to win. And then it's like, ooh, maybe we're not. Also, I just really like this girl's dress. kind of very like Silk Spectre like ish with the bombshell. Yes. We've got Cruel Kingdom, issue 1 from EC, and this is our EC sorcery. So, Oni Press has been bringing back all the EC universe, and I'm really excited to see magic and malice, as it says on the back. We've got a huge lineup in this one. It's Greg Pak, it's Al Ewing, it's Chris Condon, and then we've got a Ben Winter story with Andrea Moody on art. But the first one is called Blood of the Rogue King. And it is all about a place where they're like, hey, we need to get a king in here that can basically like be for the people and all this stuff. And they're like, we need to stop all these like unnecessary killings. But then they start manipulating the king, who is a robot, by reprogramming him to kind of become the people who are imperialistic. And so it's like, oh, well, we can only attack people who are attacking us. And then they just reprogram the robot constantly to think that those other people are attacking them. And then that doesn't go well for them for very long. It's still an EC book, so we still get the, hey, you make better choices. And then we get a story of a sorceress who a mysterious person from the future shows up and is like, I have this magic that can keep you safe. And she's like, that's not magic, that's science. And he's like, yes, well, science is what magic people need, because if science comes, you don't need magic anymore. And she's like, the magic and science cannot coexist together, and we need to do something about this. And she starts trying to, deal with it in her way, and we see how that plays out. The third story, which is the Chris Condon story, is actually my favorite in this issue. It is called Death and Pickaxes, and it is about the 8th dwarf. And basically Snow White has been sleeping all this time, and the 7 dwarfs have all passed away except for one. And the prince finally comes to awaken the sleeping princess, and he is angry and bitter because she's leaving to go off with the prince, and he doesn't like that. She seems to not appreciate all the things the dwarfs have done for them, and it does not end the way you expect, even as to see this one go. And then the last one is about a sword and a stone, except it's like a monstrous space kind of stone, and it's like whoever pulls the sword from the stone will bring about a new age of history. Well, none of the men can pull it, and so a woman chooses to be the one to go out to do it, and she does just that, but it turns out it is not what anybody expected, and things don't go the way anybody would want them to. So, magic, malice, and a little bit of EC reminding you that maybe you need to watch what you do, no matter what way you're doing it at the end. Very excited to see this launch. All right, we've got 3 picks of the week this week. Okay, I was like, are they all Dark Horse? Because it's very Dark Horse every week. There are 2 of them. The first one is Wild, and it's really, it's here because the concept is crazy, and I can't wait to see where it goes, but it is Those Not Afraid #1 from Dark Horse. This book actually was probably one of the most surprising for me this week, which I think is why it's here. But we open up talking about the worst serial killer that's ever been in this community, and how they basically took out like 57 different women before they were caught, and the way that they did it and how wild it was. And then we find out that is a woman on a podcast kind of talking about the history and the fact that now there are 2 serial killers in their town who are both close to possibly beating that record. And she's like, that sounds terrible, I don't want to say it that way, but like, this is what, like, within the week, like, one of these serial killers could create a new record. And then we start following this guy, who we learn very quickly is in fact one of the serial killers, and he is the one they call the lady killer. And then his path ends up crossing with another serial killer, the other serial killer, who is the home invasion serial killer. And the way that their paths cross and what we get out of it, I don't want to spoil for you, so I'm gonna go back like closer to the beginning for things, because we just get to see a lot about these 2 people's different like personalities and the way that they like are as serial killers. And there's an exchange between them and, you know, a process of something to happen that kind of sets up our entire premise in this book. But again, I want you to kind of experience that for yourself, because when I got there, I was like, ooh, where is this going to go? This went from like a very dark book to a more sadistic book to a more like, oh, I like that this is like kind of a psychological study of these like serial killers. And then it was like, ooh, it's kind of just true crime. And then it was like, ooh, now it is another thing altogether. And so experience it, because there's going to be, I think, a lot going on in that book for sure. Also, Kyle Starks, not surprising. He's also crushing it recently, for sure. All right, we've got Lucky Devils, issue 1, which is from our 8 Billion Genies and Curse Words creative team of Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. It is not in the 8 Billion Genies world. I know a lot of people were wondering that when it was first announced, because it is so similar looking, but it's just because it's the same creative team. I love this concept too. This is, it follows 2 different people through a day. And they both kind of just seem to be having like terrible days. One is a professor, and like his laptop catches on fire in the middle of his lecture, and then he goes out on a date, and the girl that he's on the date with, like, his money disappears, and so she gets mad. She has to pay for it, and just all this bad stuff happens. Meanwhile, at the same time, an unrelated woman finds that a girl that she works with got promoted and got a new car, and is just having like the best day of her life, and it seems to just like, and it's kind of like rubbing it in her face. Well, both of these people go home and had like, oh, today was awful kind of experiences, only to find out that there are these little devils whose job it is to kind of manipulate their days. And so basically they tell them that like there's no such thing as like a completely good person. Like everybody is corruptible, and everybody kind of has this level of evilness in them. But these devils whose job it is to like fill their lives with these horrible emotions cannot seem to win them over. They're like, I tried to make you evil. I tried to make you do the bad thing because you were mad, and you just keep choosing the good thing. So we're not allowed to tell you we exist, but look, how about this? I can't get further in the world unless you become an evil person, but you're obviously not going to do that. So like, I'm letting you know this is what I do, and maybe you could fake it enough, or maybe we could figure something out to where like I look like I'm doing my job and you don't have a terrible experience anymore. And then we find out the cute connection between the devils and their whole plan and how it's all going to work out for everybody. And it's so great. I love it. Charles Soule is so good at building these kinds of worlds and these kind of characters immediately, and I cannot wait to see where this goes, because there's going to be a ton of legal jargon that gets all of these people in trouble somehow with Charles Soule. And it's going to be wonderful. I already love all the characters. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. Also, the quotes on the back are hilarious because, you know, they always get the blurbs from people, and the quotes are great, but they chose Scott Snyder, Chip Zdarsky, and Patton Oswalt as the blurbs on the back, which is, of course, an all-star lineup of creators. But instead of saying who they actually are, like, Scott Snyder gets a real thing that says he is the writer of Absolute Batman, which is an undiscovered country. But Chip Zdarsky says that he writes Daredevil and Public Domain and also works at Applebee's. And Patton Oswalt just says that he is the newest member of the Backstreet Boys. And so I love the extra little comedy for the back page as well. It just kind of give you, a little bit of fun as you take it with you. And then lastly, alone on the cover, this would have been the best book of the week. But it is also the end of one of my favorite series. We have Survival Street, The Radical Left, issue 4 from Dark Horse. And look at this homage to the monster at the end of the book. And the fact that it says the monster at the end is you is just exactly everything that we need to be reminded of, like, with Survival Street. And if you don't know Survival Street, it's basically like in a world, in America, corporations become politicians, and they kind of take over everything, and they start taking down the concept of even just believing in positivity and helping others. And the Muppets of Sesame Street, or the Felt Americans as they prefer to be called, become radicalized and start trying to help people. Well, along the way, a lot of them lose sight of, like, they start fighting back. They start doing their own, like, strong arming and everything to try to become aggressive. They become more more focused on the aggression than on the helping people. And in this issue, they kind of have this moment where they're like, well, we've been doing all of this because like we really needed to make a difference. And it's like, what about the little differences you make though? Like, what about standing up and teaching a little group of people to be better people? And what about helping that one person next to you? And just kind of like, what about making your personal community? Like they were fighting and fighting and fighting on this big scale, and they didn't really get anywhere. But then they turn and they start actually helping the person next to them that really needs it, and just their community. And they start seeing more people start helping people and more people doing the right thing. And it just became like, maybe we have been doing this wrong. Like maybe instead of going after the big fight, we should have been winning the little battles, which would help us eventually turn the tide of the entire war. A very Sesame Street-esque kind of lesson to come in at the end. And for me, of course, they say in the future we'll be mixing things up more than we did in the old days. And they kind of like move back to their thing, and they say, don't worry, we're going to keep helping people who need it, but we hope you will too. Of course, no one person can tackle all the world's problems. Just know what you want to prioritize. Find the community and join in, but don't burn out. Don't get yourself killed. And while you're taking care of each other, don't forget to take care of yourself. The future we want is one with you in it. And it's just great to see them actually like say, like, we're reminded recently how important it is to keep connecting and teaching, especially people we may disagree with. Around the time we lost, and it's just so great, and I love it. There's so many Sesame Street lessons at the end of this series, and it's so good, and it's just so relevant, and just a reminder, like, there's a lot going on in this world, and we all want to stand up. Find the community that you can do that in. Find the way that you can help people. Don't forget to take care of yourself, because it doesn't matter if you help everybody else. If you lose yourself, or if you can't take care of yourself, you won't be there to see the future you're trying to build anyway. So take care of yourself. Take care of each other's. And remember that there's always good in the world if you put it out there, as the Muppets once said. All right. That's the books we have for you this week. There's still a bunch more in stock. I'm going to show you what else is here. I did actually read this, but it's hard to explain if you didn't read the first series. So Death of Copper issue 1 is out from Image Comics. You do need to read the Copper series. It's really cool art. Definitely something that you should check out. But if you didn't read Copper, you will not have any clue what's going on. What If Galactus transformed Gambit? We are in the middle of our What If Galactus series. He is picking all new heralds through this, and we are getting to see each one of those as they come. What If Mickey and Friends became the Fantastic Four? Super cute. Definitely want to see. I love seeing those books. It's so fantastic. Namor number 6. And the return of Aquaman. So if you need to get your Seeking on this week, this is some times to do that. Batman Dark Patterns issue 2 is out. DC vs. Vampire World War Z issue 6 with this Mark Spears cover with Big Barda on it, which is super cool. Daredevil gets his own red band with Unleash Hell number 1. New Champions. A New Champion series launches this week with issue 1. All new characters on it. A lot of first appearances and a new team appearance, obviously. Amazing Spider-Man 65, the continuation of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Star Wars Battle of Jakku Last Stand issue 2. All new Venom issue 2. If you want to know what the all new Venom is up to, you gotta grab it. Wolverine issue 5. Sentinels issue 4. Magic also released this week. We are out of it because everybody loves Magic. We've got Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin trade paperbacks out this week. This is all 5 issues of that series. 4 issues of that series, sorry. But and the inclusion of Spider-Man number 1 from 1990. And then we've got the Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan trade paperback. If you want to know what it is that Casey Jones is up to in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation, this is a great lead into that, which is going to tell you all about how Karai running the Foot Clan, what her plans were, and how Casey Jones gets involved with that. Again, don't forget this week We've got comic creation workshops on Saturday at 11:30 and 3:30. We've got ladies and non-binary nerd night this Thursday night at 8 p.m. Come and hang out with me. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, as always, check our socials for more fun and exciting things. Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. Tomorrow is our Bat-tastic Awards. Make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. to see our annual award show, to see all of our who our favorite creators, artists, cover artists, books, publishers, favorite characters, all that. We're going to be talking about it all tomorrow night. From 2024, just from 2024. This is a huge thing for us. One of the big things on our award show is that if the book did not happen, like come out and like exist within 2024, it cannot be a part of it. So it's not ongoing. There is a one award for best ongoing series. That's something that started before 2024, but that's it. Everything else is you had to start by like, you could start in December 2023, and that's like the earliest you can start, only because that happens. There's like one issue. If you had issue 1 in 2023, where else would you go at that point? It's not fair. You have to kind of have 2023, December 23 in there. All right. Once again, thank you to Dan and Gabby for this and incredible wine. We are so excited for it. Thank you to Sammy and Jason for these awesome glasses. And thank you to you for watching. And don't forget, you can donate to the Red Cross and other places in California to help with the wildfires and make sure that people are getting the resources they need. There are some comic shops that are raising funds as well. I believe Secret Headquarters is one. They're going to be selling merch to raise money. We're going to be sharing that into our story. But do what you can, like the Muppets taught us in Survival Street, to help where you can. And until we see you again, stay safe and happy reading, everyone. Bye.